Hey guys, it's Kara here. This is our 300th episode of the Powerful Ladies podcast. This is so special because only 2.45% of podcasts make it to this incredible milestone. It is such a big deal. And that is because of you, our listeners who have been here this whole time. And if you're new, welcome and enjoy the ride. To celebrate, I wanted to take you behind the scenes with our team to share stories about what it's really like to make a podcast, share what we've learned along the way, have some funny stories about what it's really like behind the scenes, and tell you about what's coming up for 2025 and beyond. To do that, we have our incredible senior audio engineer, Jordan Duffy, and producer Amanda Kass as guests with me on this episode. Enjoy! Guys, we're here to celebrate our 300th episode. Woo!
Yay!
So I think everyone listening can already tell this is a different episode than normal. First, Jordan and I are in the same room again, which we haven't been doing since COVID happened.
Since 2019.
And then we also have Amanda on Zoom.
Hi! Yay!
I wanted to make sure for this 300th episode that we were just kind of coming together to talk about what this journey's been. A lot of people have reached out to me about making podcasts, how we do it, what this actually looks like. And I think this is a good excuse to talk about what it's like to make this podcast. You guys can tell some really annoying things that I do to everyone listening that makes your lives harder.
Just kidding.
Wow. She's already started. And then we can just kind of talk about what this journey's been for us as well, too. But similar to other episodes, let's go around. I want you guys to say who you are, where you are, and what you do for this podcast, and maybe what you do the rest of the time when you're not working on this. We'll start with Jordan.
All right. I am Jordan Duffy. I am Kara's sister. I am a senior audio engineer at SiriusXM, but most importantly, I am a singer-songwriter musician.
Which may have had something come out recently. Do you want to keep talking about that?
Yes, yes, I do. I recently had a single and video come out on the 9th named Not Your Dream Girl, and it was by far the most fun and exciting video to date, and it's one of my favorite songs from the album, coming out in end of February.
And where can everyone find your video and your song?
You can find the video on YouTube. You can just search Jordan Duffy, Not Your Dream Girl. Or you can, listen to my song wherever you listen to music. All streaming platforms.
Excellent. Well done. Amanda, tell us about you.
Yes, I'm Amanda. I work for Kara, as most of you know. For the podcast, I produce it. So, Kara, we're going into our 5th year together, I believe. I think I started in 2020. Started with Powerful Ladies, and now I'm KDCC and Powerful Ladies. But I really love the podcast. I love what I do and what we do. So this is a big deal to be 300 episodes in. It's very exciting.
Whenever I think about how many episodes we've done and are we a real podcast and all those things, because we all get like founder's fraud, right? About like, is this a real podcast? Yes, it's a real podcast. Yes, we have listeners all over the world. Of course, we want more listeners. So if you're listening to this now, send this episode to a friend or your favorite one. But most importantly, what I always go back to know that this is a real episode, a real podcast. If you make it past 7 episodes, you're already in the top 5% of podcasts.
Whoa. And we're at 300.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's more stats, which I'll include in our show notes, about when you go past 20, 50, Most people are not doing this many episodes at all. And so I think it gives people a kind of peek of how we pass a podcast episode around. All of us and other people, whether they're past guests, other people who we work with in different capacities, friends of ours, they will refer people to us. We'll find people that we want to connect with, whether digitally or in person. And what I do on my part is I just send everything to Amanda. And then we build out a list of who we want to be talking to. And Amanda does all the outreach and communication. We get people scheduled. Sometimes I've never met these people before we've talked. And then we record the episode. We send it to Jordan. And that's when she starts doing her magic. You don't think
I'm a
you do
wizard.
magic?
I'm a wizard.
But we get a lot of compliments about the audio quality of this podcast. And that's because of you, Jordan.
Oh, thank you. I would like to say that majority of the time I can only handle Kara's audio because we do you do talk to so many people who don't have the resources to record as nicely as you do with a microphone and other things. So you will hear a lot of episodes where we do have to use the guest Zoom audio, and that's okay. But I'm very proud in at least how nicely you sound. So, and how nicely everyone on this episode sounds. But it's always whatever anyone can do, they try their best to record the best that they can do. And we're not like, from my standpoint, I'm like, everyone should have a microphone, everyone should have headphones. But a lot of people today, based on their profession, don't have those pieces of equipment. So we do our best.
And then to kind of finish our production process, you clean up the first round, get it back to me. I've been editing it, finding our quotes, finding intros, telling you where to cut, not. I give you all the notes. I send it back to you. While you're finishing that up, Amanda's getting the graphics. She's setting up the website page, doing everything else to launch it. And then once you finish everything, Amanda gets it and plugs it into all the places and then emails out to the guests. It's a lot of steps. I recently spoke to one of our podcast guests offline about how we do it because she wants to start her own podcast. And I was like, how much time do you have? So how many hours do you think you contribute to each episode?
Both of us or us?
Yeah, we'll start with you, Jordan. Like per episode, how many hours do you think you're working on it?
Since this is my profession, I'm a lot faster than other people. But for me personally, an episode could take anywhere from an hour to 4 hours, depending on if the audio is rough, if I have to fix certain things. And that's also including when you send me edits back. Because just like Kara said, I will mix the episode, send it to Kara and Amanda, and then I get those notes, and then I have to go back in again and do those edits. And then piece the episode together, putting on the theme song, putting the little intro quote on top. And yeah, making it just skimming it one more time for any thing that we might have missed. So it's anywhere from I would personally say 1 to 4 hours per episode. But that's me being this is my career.
What about you, Amanda? From when not even before the guest is even confirmed, like how many hours do you think go into each episode?
Right. Like even finding them and like sending out invitations from the very beginning.
Amanda's like years. It's years.
Years. No. I mean, sometimes it's easy, right? Sometimes everyone's just like a yes, which we really appreciate. So like five hours is usually like the minimum, because then you have the graphics to do. You have to email them to get their photos. We need all their information. There's just a lot of steps. And as you all know, Kara, she loves like spreadsheets and she loves files and folders and organization. So it's a lot to do for each episode. But we've been doing it for so long, it really is. It's just like so easy, you know, because there's so many steps. It just feels a lot easier because I don't think of it as hours per episode, but yeah, it's like 5 to 10 maybe per episode.
And you're doing it in probably 5 to 20-minute chunks throughout.
Yeah, stages. Yeah, definitely stages with the hours I put in.
And then on my side, I'm doing prep, and we bulk our episodes. So we'll do about 4 a day when we're doing a recording day. So I have a full day that I'm doing 4 episodes, and that includes the hours I'm with the guest. I almost said client. The hour I'm recording the episode with the guest, plus a half hour after where I'm uploading it, saving it, doing the intro, outro recordings, plus prepping my space and then taking it down. Because I don't leave the podcasting stuff up all the time. I don't have a dedicated studio. So it is a lot of work. And then I have to go back and edit it. And I account, depending on how long the episode is, usually I need 1.5 times the length of the original episode for me to do the edits between Jordan doing her work. So just quick math. There's at least probably 15 hours between the 3 of us for an episode.
It's like a part-time job just doing 1 episode worth.
Yeah.
Well, we also don't do it all in 1 week.
No.
Like I'm
but
recording...
I think no, go ahead.
No, you go, Amanda.
Oh, I was just going to say, but there is so much joy in it. Like I get a lot of joy out of it. It's something that's kind of like fun. So when you're doing like a job that's super fun, you don't think of it like that many hours. But I really like doing a podcast. And if it's something you're thinking, it's very time consuming, but it's super fulfilling, I feel like, you know? So anyways.
I've said many times on the podcast that it's the most selfish thing I do.
Yeah.
Because I get to find people that I want to talk to, that I think are interesting. And I'm like, Amanda, find them.
Yeah. Here's a TikTok. I want her.
So I think this is probably a question people are asking. When I just forward you a random TikTok and say, add them to the list, how the hell do you find that person? How do you get their email?
Amanda's also a wizard.
Wizard. I've gotten so good at it. Well, I basically stalk them. I find their Instagram, their TikTok. I see if they have a website. And a lot of people have their information out there. And if they don't, you know, they have forms to fill out on their website that you're just like, hey, we're huge fans. Like, we would love to share your story or whatever it is that they can contribute. Yeah.
I think another thing people ask us a lot about is what is all the things that we had to do for the podcast that people don't see? We took 3 months, Jordan, you and I, before we even released the podcast, where we had to work on the formatting, work on the strategy, figure out timing, find music, do the intro outros, find the space at the time. There's a lot we did the 3 months before anyone even knew this existed. And we really probably started 5 months before. It was like November, December through March that we were working on all those things. How important is the formatting strategy part of this podcast, and the other podcasts that you work on?
It's very important. I mean, where I work, it could be, I remember one show taking a year they even like recorded stuff and put it out a year later because they needed to make sure that everything was as clean as possible. To be fair, that recording was outside, so it had multiple rounds of edits and like trying to clean it up. Why they recorded outside, I do not know why. In the middle of LA, who would have thought that was a good idea? But it's a great idea if you have an idea for a podcast do you think is going to benefit the world, to take that time to write out exactly what you want to do and how you want it to sound, to strategize it to the best that you can? And it's as much as you want to like record something and put it out the next day, that's not how it should be. Like, you really need to think like, one, does this sound good? Does this sound clean? And is what you're talking about good for the world? Like, I wouldn't work on something if I didn't think it was good for the world. And yeah, it's so important to take that time to look at what you are doing and mapping out the best it can be. It's very important to evaluate everything before you decide to put it out. And you're right. Like, when you had the idea of Powerful Ladies, we didn't start like actually putting things into motion until like you were crystal clear on what you wanted to do. And like, yeah, in the beginning, like there's gonna be hiccups and changes, and that is normal with every podcast that I've worked on. But again, it can be anywhere from 3 to 12 months before something is officially out into the world. Mm-hmm. And that's great. It should be that way. You should have multiple people listen to it or evaluate it or be like, you know what, this is great. Or have people be like truly honest with you, be like, this is not that great. I don't know if you should do this. And that's why you should take the time before you put anything out into the universe to actually take the time to do it. I feel like I just talked in a circle, but that's okay.
Well, we can edit that out.
I wanted it. I'm leaving it in.
Something that I think is crazy is that we have had about 350 people say yes to being on this podcast. So we're at episode 300, but we've had power couples. We've had a whole Powerful Conversation series panel of guests on episodes. The only way to make a podcast work is to have people say yes. It started with me convincing Jordan to say yes, and then Amanda to say yes, and then Anna doing graphic design to say yes, and then Tomas, the website, doing yes. But then we can't exist if we don't have guests in this format that we've chosen. Most of our guests, we have never met. Mm-hmm. And I don't think people understand, we're not famous. No one gives a shit about talking to me. So for us to get people to say yes, it's a different ask. And when people do say yes, we're so thankful for it.
Yeah.
And I know, Amanda, you were very relieved every time you can make sure you're securing a spot on the spreadsheet that glares at you empty, knowing we have to fill at least 50 spots a year. Mm-hmm. How does it feel to you when people say yes?
They might not know you, but I feel like everybody who leaves the podcast is happy to be there. You know, like, I think you've changed a lot of people's lives as far as having you, like, because then they're like, oh, she's a business coach. You know, you've gotten clients from it is one thing, but also just like, this is what we're trying to build, is like that powerful community of ladies. And we have it, but we're just not, that's our goal, is now to use this huge community that you've built. And, you know, how can we all support each other? Because that's what being a powerful lady is all about. How can we all support each other, you know? So that I get excited about a yes, because hopefully we can do something for them by them coming on our podcast. But also, you know, it's great to have a new person in our community, and who can they introduce us to? Because that's how we also meet a lot of guests.
So Jordan, when I pitched you this idea, I remember there being some, okay, my sister's insane and wants to do a podcast. was there any part of you that thought we would get to 300 episodes?
No. You want my honest answer? No.
Yes.
Not that I didn't. Not that I didn't believe in you. It was more of, I was like, there's no, I know so many shows who haven't. Shows that had really big numbers who just decided to end it at, I don't know, 100, 150, 200. Yeah, that's a lot of episodes. You know what I'm most shocked at is that you still want to talk to people.
Yeah, that's hard.
That's what I'm most shocked at. For you to now tell people who you're going to keep having on the podcast, be like, oh yeah, I've 300 episodes. I'd be like, what do you mean? You talked to 300 people? That's 300 plus hours of talking to people. You're never going to get those hours back. I'm just kidding. But no, I never. I do think it was a grand plan of you getting me out here so you could secretly have your own podcast and I would run it, or I would engineer it at least. And your plan, just spoiler, it did work. You're at 300. But no, I did not expect 300. And now I feel bad because I feel like I should have. I'm so flustered. I should have gotten like a 300 cake or something. But
we can pretend.
Distracted me. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Happy 300th to you.
Look, we got a cake.
Put it in post right here.
Yeah.
I know that I can be crazy to both of you in what I want and when I want it. Like, you guys think I'm ridiculous on a regular basis. I know this. I've accepted this about myself long before you guys started thinking this. What are some of the things that I've asked for or wanted to do or asked you guys to do that you still think I'm insane about? You thought I was insane. We did it anyway and it worked. And like, just what are the extreme things that I'm doing on a regular basis that you guys can share?
Amanda's like breathing.
Oh, let me get my list out. Hold on. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, this is a great thing, but I get nervous. Like our powerful conversations we do, sometimes the topics can be challenging, right? But that's a whole reason for them. And I get nervous, like, okay, well, I don't want to offend. I never want to offend anyone. Like, I want to make sure that we're being appropriate, But then after them, I'm like, oh my gosh, this was amazing. Like, giving these people voices, like there's in no way was that offensive, and they usually have a powerful outcome, So I do get a little nervous though a lot of times when we talk about that, but that's just me personally. So I'm putting all the faith in Kara to, hold that conversation and,
not get canceled.
Yeah, not get canceled.
It is nerve-wracking. I mean, as someone who's worked on a ton of diverse shows, you need to make sure that it's not appropriating, it's appreciating, and you're not offending anyone. But I agree with you. I think Kara and who Kara has asked to be a part of those, they are very aware of what's going on and why they're being asked, and they are amazing speakers. And they have the floor. I think Kara's just there to ask like questions from time to time. It's fully whoever is there. So I think it's good to have those crucial conversations. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm also impressed with that. Kara handles that very, very well. So
yeah.
I think for me personally, and I think it was just more of me being nervous because I work with these people, is how many famous people you had on these episodes. And I'm not saying that you're not famous. I'm sure you and I are Googleable. And Amanda, I haven't Googled you. I will later.
But, don't do it.
Those tapes
We're
are
gonna
not
find
meant to come out.
crazy things. No, I think I was always nervous to be like, all right, like Kara's gonna ask this host that I work with, and I'm always like, Kara, they're probably gonna say no, and immediately they're like, yeah, sure, totally, and I'm like, what?
Yeah,
like, okay, and then it's fun conversations, and it sounds so stupidly cliche, but it's like they're like us. They're like normal people, which they are. I mean, I work with them. I know how normal they are, but I also know, I think it comes from the fact of like, oh, they're really busy. Like, why would they take this time? And each one is always like, I love Jordan. I, of course, would love her sister. Like, let's do this. Like, let's have fun. So then I'm always impressed. And I think in the beginning, which it took so long for us to kind of change things. My thought of my sister's insane was when you were having like 3-hour conversations. And I don't know how anyone was thriving after those conversations, but they're still great conversations. And
Some of my favorites.
yeah, they were a lot to edit.
Yes.
But so now I think we've found that sweet spot of like somewhere between 45 and like an hour. And I think that's really great. But yeah,
Which we fought about.
What?
You pitched me every 2 weeks for like 3 years to shorten the length of the episode.
I had to send you articles.
Yeah.
If anyone needs to know anything about Kara, because she doesn't talk about herself enough, Kara is... I guess crazy is the right word to use. No, Kara is
a machine.
She's a machine. She's very determined. She will talk to you for hours and hours. And if no one stops her, she will do it all day long, which is an amazing trait to have. I don't think a lot of people have that trait. I think after 15 minutes, they're kind of done. So the fact that you can even entertain someone for 3 hours is shocking in itself. But yeah, it is. It's an incredible way you can do, how you can get people to open up, how people can be vulnerable to you. So it's very impressive. Thanks. And in that, you are crazy.
Well, and I just think the main reason I didn't want to shorten the episodes at first was because I didn't want to truncate where a great conversation was going. Because sometimes there have been episodes that it was a struggle for us to get to 30 minutes.
People are scared. People are scared to talk on microphones, especially when they came into the studio. It was everyone was so nervous. And it's like, just pretend like we're talking. And it's like, how am I supposed to talk when there's this big microphone on my face? This isn't normal.
Well, and I don't think a lot of people haven't gone through speaking and media training.
Yeah.
And so you ask them a question, they go, yes. And you're like, wow, thank you. This is like the dates I go on. This conversation's going nowhere. So I think it's been interesting to learn how to pull things out of more people. But in general, the people that we have as guests, there's a lot of layers to them. There's a lot of experiences, a lot of stories. So it's quite easy to talk about all these different things and how they layer it and make this person more interesting. Because if we just come on and talk about your business or the mountain you climbed, the whole perspective of Powerful Ladies is that everybody has all these different layers. And the person becomes more interesting when we find these hidden pieces. I'll never forget having Jemmy Bertrand on. And we're talking, and all of a sudden she goes, and that's when I had to get evacuated by a helicopter. I was like, what? We brought her on to talk about the work she's doing in neuroscience. And there's this whole other story, not Googleable, about how she adopted her daughter in Haiti under a coup and they had to be rescued.
It's such a wild story.
And she's such an incredible human. But then suddenly having that whole story mixed into what we thought we would talk about, I couldn't keep the episode shorter just so we can't talk about that really interesting thing because Jordan said we got to stop.
You can't blame me for cutting people's good stories short.
And we have
It's
right?
Jordan's fault.
It's my fault. Yeah. I'm like, it's too long. You have to cut it short.
And after you've edited, all of us have touched 300 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
You want to find ways to streamline it. And honestly, it was me looking at, okay, how can we tell great stories? How can we highlight these amazing, incredible women and do it in 45 minutes? And it's a little bit more work. Like we started putting more research in and what are the key highlights? What is something we don't know about them that could spark everyone else's helicopter evacuation story? And we had to get, I don't know, I had to become a better interviewer to get it shorter and get people to warm up faster versus like, come on, slowly taking them through and letting them get comfortable. Because most people I've never talked to before. So it's like being on a blind date with someone that I'm on blind dates every day. So this is no big deal for me. But they're like, who are you and why are we talking? And we've, had a lot of first timers in regards to being on a podcast as guests. What are some of the guests that you guys have loved having?
Oh, I was going to ask you that same question.
Oh, sure. I can tell you my most memorable.
Yeah, I want to know like your most memorable and like who's someone that we got that you were like, wow, I cannot believe we got this person. I've been waiting. I'm sure there's a lot of them, but
one of the things that I always think about in ridiculous moments and what you'll never know what people will share with you is when Casey Wilson from Bitsesh, the actress, podcaster, admitted to burying her mother with a Diet Coke on our episode.
Oh my gosh.
And
that's hilarious.
That was surreal in general because these are, at least Casey, Danielle, I hadn't realized I had seen her in things because she's not as talked about as Casey Wilson is as an actress. Would you agree, Jordan? I'm not insulting Danielle in that statement. She's a lot more writing, a lot more behind the scenes. But like I knew who Casey Wilson was. And to have her on a video screen during COVID, I remember that episode, I had to film it in my bedroom. When there's like a stack of books 4 feet high holding my laptop up. And I'm talking to these two celebrities. And we're having a great time and laughing. And then I find out about a Diet Coke being buried with her mother.
I love that. Yeah.
So that was surreal. Yeah.
I think for me, my favorite, and Carrie, you're gonna have to remind me of their name. We had an Indigenous woman on who was a runner.
Rosalie Fish.
Yeah, Rosalie Fish was one that has always stood out to me to this day. Talking about her community and why she runs and who she knows who is of the missing and murdered Indigenous women, and just sharing her story. And yeah, I think about it to this day.
How about for you, Amanda?
I mean, I like them all. I like the power couple ones. Like I like Chris and Alex. They're amazing. That was an older one. I don't even know if I was with Powerful Ladies yet. But like Tomas and Chelsea, I like, for some reason, I like the dynamic of like having a power couple, maybe because like they talk more freely, like you said, and they're warmed up already. But I've always liked the ones with multiple people, even like the sisters, like Carolina and
Natalia.
her sister, Natalia. Yep. Like they're amazing. Yeah.
No, they've all been great. I know for me a really special episode because I couldn't believe how quickly it happened was Sasha Sagan. And she was one of the last ones in person before COVID happened. I had read her book. I loved it. I knew who her dad was. I just cold emailed her said, I read your book. I loved it. Here's what I loved about it. I'd love to have you on the podcast. And within 24 hours, she wrote back and said yes. And then she said, I'll fly out to LA. No problem. I'm going to hang out with my mom anyway. We have a red carpet thing for, I think, something that was showcasing some of her dad's work. And she was just so fun and delightful. I brought the books. I had it marked to talk to her about in the episode. And she's like, oh, can I sign it? I'm like, of course you can. She was just lovely. And then she was so generous in offering so many of her amazing, incredible best friends to also be guests who were also amazing to talk to. And I think that speaks to the power of this community. Like, we're inviting people on who are powerful in all their own ways, but they're so generous and they really do care. And to pay it forward is important to them. So we're always getting recommendations from people. People are always saying, oh, I have a friend. Let me email you. They'd be great too. And I think that's part of why, like, this will probably horrify both of you. But if someone asked me the other day, like, when will the podcast be done? And I was like, well, I think we have a list of like 2,000 people currently, and that doesn't even include all of the coolest people we could talk to. So I don't know how this could end. And Jordan is squealing in her seat.
She's a robot.
I am a robot.
No, Kara's a robot.
Kara. Oh, Kara. Yeah, we're both robots.
Yeah, you guys, the Duffys are robots. You know who else I loved? I think because this is my favorite topic is Sophia Yen, who's so passionate about women's health. Mm-hmm. Her podcast was just so inspirational. I think I've listened to it 3 times when I'm just like, I need to hear someone talk about like women empowerment and women's body and women's choice. Like, she is so amazing. I would actually love to have her back. She did like she did a panel with us as well, but and they're doing so much cool things right now. Like, she's really amazing.
I think to kind of like shift this conversation, like things that I see for the future of Powerful Ladies is I do see, not that you can't have 2,000 new other people on this podcast, but I do see in moments of having guests back, kind of like from 2019, from 2020, kind of to do like hey, you were on this last time, this is what we talked about, like what's new, what's going on. I think that would be really, really nice.
Well, we're also excited because in 25, we're shifting our formatting slightly. We have always had profiles, and then we've always had the Power of Conversation series. And we're going to start mixing in what we're calling deep dives. There have been a lot of people who have expertise and knowledge or firsthand experience that we can't go in depth enough if they're on a panel, but talking to them less about themselves and more about the thing they're passionate about and what they know, and almost like a masterclass, that I'm excited to be mixing in. So now having kind of 3 types of episodes, I think we'll also mix it up and bring some other things in. There's just so many things that I know everyone listening wants to learn more about. We want to keep meeting these people we have and haven't heard of in bigger and deeper ways. But there's so much room to be also having a little learning experience throughout this too. I think there's some of the things, if I could go back and do more of, would be asking some of these women to give us a little lesson on just the expertise that they have, because there's so much depth. I really mean it when I'm asking guests at the end of the episodes, how can we help you? Because I know between the networks the 3 of us have, the clients that are in the space, and all these guests, we really can solve almost any problem that they might be facing or want to make adjustments on or learn more about or connect to. I think what people don't know who listen is how many emails get sent after an episode's done, connecting guests with each other, sending them resources. Like, we have action items after every episode we do because there's so many things I've promised people, especially when they have overlapping concerns. We've had a lot of guests who care about fashion and sustainability, fashion and the environment, and they don't know each other yet, and they absolutely should, because they can be working on all this together versus being on an island on their own.
Yeah. I've always liked that part of the podcast where people don't get to hear this part because we cut it out in the episodes, of course. When Kara says, thank you, she then pauses and then says, well, that's it. Like, you did such a great job. And they talk for a little bit. And Kara's usually good at like stopping the recording, but a lot of times she will continue recording until the guest comes. They decide like to end or leave the Zoom, and Kara and then we'll talk. And that person always is like, you need to record this person and this person and that person. And like, I have so many people for you to meet and talk to. And to me, that is a really nice moment, especially when you're meeting a stranger, to then have that stranger meet other strangers in today's world, at least in the US, is kind of unheard of to want to meet other people. So
other guests that have been favorites of mine, I'm such a nerd for National Geographic. I love anthropology. It was part of my minor. If I had another job, it would be a National Geographic explorer if I could. Like, I wanted to be a female Indiana Jones for such a long time. And then to have guests come on who have been part of National Geographic, like Carol Dunham, like Dr. Tierney Tice, these people who are doing incredible, cool things that are so opposite or disconnected from some of the celebrity guests we have or some of the entrepreneur guests we have, and just hear what they're doing, like a completely different perspective. And again, these are women who I'm like, you're so busy. You have so many things to do. You're talking to me between adventures, projects, research that you're doing. And yes, of course, we'd love to talk to you. It's very humbling, and I have so much gratitude for everyone that said yes in that way. And I think for people who want to have their own podcasts, and maybe this isn't me and who I am, but I now take it a little bit for granted that I know we can get the people we want on the podcast. It might take months, years, but they're not coming off the list. And I know that this is how I am in general in like doing sales and stuff, where I'm like, oh, you're just not yet. I understand.
Well, we have somebody recording in 2 weeks who is like that. We reached out to her in 2019 and she said she's going to pass for whatever reason. But, and you read her book, and now she's going to be on our podcast next week, which is so awesome.
This just goes that Kara and Amanda are persistent. I would have given up. I would have been like,
I know. I know.
I know. Talk to me. Fine.
Well, actually, it's because Shay knows her now, and was like, you got to talk to Karen. She's like, oh, okay. So she was a yes because somebody else knew her,
Well, and this is the power of working your network.
Yeah.
I also got to meet her at Mountain Film this past year.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And I already knew her boyfriend. So this is me working my 6 degrees of separation to be like, okay.
It works. So when is Oprah going to be on?
Well, what's interesting is that there are people who we modeled this podcast off of, like who, when I was looking for podcasts I really admire and how do I, borrow the success I see in their formatting and what they're doing, that I get so excited when we're 1 degree away from. Like, the list of people who I would love to be at a dinner table with includes Rich Roll, and Richard Branson has been on that list too. I am 1 degree away from them because of this podcast. and rich roll I'm 1 degree away from in multiple directions.
When you said rich roll, I thought you meant Rick roll, and I got really excited for Rick Astley because I love Rick Astley. Can we have Rick Astley on the show?
Well, this brings up a great point about the fact that I have ideas for other podcasts that every time I mention
here we go,
both
Jordan.
of you start sweating. Because there are some people who we could always justify, we have spots for powerful gentlemen throughout the year. Because I think it's important for men to share their perspective of powerful women because it's not happening enough. It's happening more now, which I appreciate. But it's an under-discussed thing from men's perspective, especially in media. So we could always justify what's the angle we're going to have them take. But I do think that there's so many female stories that we have room to share in this podcast that I need another podcast where I can talk to anyone that fits into this space of people being ridiculous and extraordinary and being originals in their spaces. So if all of you listening want another podcast, please email us at hello@thepowerfulladies.com.
And if any of you want to edit that podcast.
Yes. And work on Saturdays. Just kidding.
Well, because this is, for all three of us, working on this podcast is not our full-time job.
No.
Yeah.
And you guys get paid. I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I'm the one who's like, let's do more.
I know.
But in defense, this podcast has led to clients that have come to working with me on the KDCC side of things because they've heard an episode and they related to it. It's opened up other doors. So I am getting paid in a non-direct way through this. But I really love doing this. The last episode I recorded this morning, we were talking about how all of my businesses are conversations. Coaching's a conversation. Group coaching's a conversation. The podcast's a conversation. I really do need to get voice insurance because if I lose my voice and can't talk, all of the businesses are gone. That's also why I need to record all of my courses now too. But I think it's important that everyone knows what's their fastest way to communicate. Some people it's writing. Some people it's creating art. Some people it's creating music. I can leave an audio note faster than I can type, and I am a very fast typer. If you want me to write a book, I have to say it out loud. And then edit it. I want to hear what you guys are proud of about yourselves. How have you and how you view yourself and what you're capable of changed since you first joined this podcast to now?
I can go first.
Okay, you go first.
Things that have changed for me. I think what has changed for me, in every engineering job I've had, I think the first episode I was on with you, it was early 2019. I was still, in my head, a baby engineer and didn't know what I was doing. And I felt like such an imposter. I can tell you today that I do not have imposter syndrome when it comes to this anymore. If anything, I get so annoyed at people who are not doing things correctly, which I've made Kara now a snob on certain things.
I'm an audio snob for sure.
But I also know that not everything is perfect and we do the best we can with what we have. But for me, it really shows me, I think for a really long time, I was very much of I need to work at a company. I need to, there's no way I could do freelance stuff. And I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I still work at a major company doing this as my job. But I also have so many other dreams. In the first time we recorded, I was working on music. Nothing was out, which is crazy. And now I'm putting out my second album, which is insane. But I think working on this podcast and mixed with other things, it has given me the confidence to know, like, okay, if anything happened, I could do this on my own and I could figure out how to do it. And I also know that the main reason I know that I can do it is because I'm surrounded by you, Kara, by you, Amanda, by so many people who would support me and figure out how to support me if it came down to it. And it's nice to have that knowledge and confidence to be like, if anything changes or if anything happens, I know that I could do this on my own if I had to. And I have plenty of people backing me. That's nice.
You've always been the best audio engineer I've ever known.
What?
Even when you thought you were like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You knew how to click things at a minimum. I was like, I don't know how to do any of that. She'll figure it out.
I knew how to
trust her.
click things.
Well, no, like
That's my job. I'm just a clicker.
even today, we're using my Scarlett, which I never use because I rarely have people in person.
Oh, yeah.
And I had to switch the app on my computer to record the whole thing. And I was like, Jordan, can you do it?
And I was like, oh, God, fine. I'll do it.
I'm a professional.
What about you, Amanda? What are you proud of? How has your confidence shifted?
I mean, same story with Jordan. Like, when you hired me, I knew zero. This is not what I came from at all, my background. I have an English major. I worked in customer service for 25 plus years. Like, this was not something I ever thought I'd be doing or even have any knowledge of doing. But you were just like, well, you can learn. Here you go. I wrote it all out for you step by step. Have any questions? Well, we'll deal with that later. So now, we're creating everything from what we learned. So I feel like we've come really far,
Mm-hmm. I have so many memories of both of you, either your voice telling me or your actual face telling me, I think this is a bad idea. And not about the podcast as a whole, and it wasn't always, this is a bad idea. Sometimes it was, that's terrifying. How are we going to do that? Like, one thing I want to acknowledge you for, Amanda, is how calm you are now in reaching out to people that we don't know. There used to be conversations about, okay, but how do I do it? And what do I say? Like, you were so concerned about making sure we are honoring the guest and doing it the right way. And knowing that, like, we're a bunch of nobodies. Why would they say yes? How do we do this? There was like trepidation. That's the word I was looking for before. And, Jordan, you were mentioning how when you would invite guests that are high profile that you work with to be on the podcast, I knew that you were like, I cannot believe I'm giving this really important connection for my career, for my personal, list of connections. Like, I cannot believe I'm sharing this that I might need to use later with my sister and she might ruin it all. And I'm really glad that I haven't ruined anything for you. I wasn't worried about that part. I think also because you never saw or were exposed to how many high profile celebrities I was talking to in my past life.
Yeah.
So you're like, I don't know how you act around these people because you weren't at work with me in my corporate life. It's also part of why I don't fangirl almost over anybody.
Yeah, if anyone's fangirling, it's me.
Yes. Which
Same.
I still can't
Me
believe.
too.
Yeah. Yeah. You guys do a really good job of keeping it under control.
But internally,
Yeah.
we're like,
Oh my God, this is incredible. Yeah, but what you were saying is, yes, I agree. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't reach out to this person. But now I'm like, yes, I'm reaching out to every single person. Because what's the worst that they're going to do? Say no?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, we have you on our list. We'll call you in 4 years.
Yeah.
We'll ask you in 4 years because you might be a yes,
when you guys think about powerful ladies in general, like, what does this podcast mean to you? How would you describe it to other people?
I always say that it's always your last line because I love it. It's, I hope you're being up to something powerful and awesome, right? Is that your last line?
I hope you're being awesome and up to something you love.
You think I would know the last line of everything that I edit? I've heard this
300 times.
Well over 300. Yeah, well over 300 times. It's one of my favorite lines you say, and yet I can't recite it. That's how I describe it to people. I'm like, you're listening to people who are powerful, who are up to something, who are trying to make a difference. And it's very much of like, what gets me, and I say this about my own company because it annoys the crap out of me. And I get it. Like, you want to hear certain celebrities and stuff, but what I love about powerful ladies is you get celebrities from time to time, but majority of the time you're hearing nurses, you're hearing lawyers, you're hearing the stay-at-home mom who's trying to make a glitter work. Yeah. Who is that one guest who had like a glitter, like edible glitter line?
Yeah, eucalyptus, organic glitter.
Yeah.
Earth shine.
Yeah. So you're listening to so many people of different backgrounds, of different upbringings all around the world. And I think that's what makes it difference. I'm so tired of hearing celebrity after celebrity after celebrity on these podcasts just talking about the same thing. I worked on this show, I worked on that show. And yes, that is their career. They have every right to talk about that. But I want to hear about real people. I want to hear about the 98% of the population who's doing real things, who have families, who have pets, who have hardships, who have so many other things going on, and they're not in the entertainment business. To me, that's real life. To me, this is a very real life episode, and it's talking about how you can be better, how you can be uplifting. And yeah, there are plenty of episodes. Even in my episode, I talk about my trauma. No one is perfect. Yes, I might be very optimistic, but I'm also, if you can sense my humor, I have a lot of trauma from my background. I love therapy. And you'll get real people like that talking about their therapy. I have my personal trainer is someone I met through powerful ladies who I thought for some reason Kara and her were best friends. Not at all. Had no idea. And I just was like, we immediately clicked. We became friends. And it was about like 2 or 3 years later, I was like, I want to just get stronger. And she was like, let's do this. And she's one of my favorite people. So without this podcast, I wouldn't have my phenomenal personal trainer. This is not me bragging that I have a personal trainer. It is not for the faint at heart. But I love her, and I would not want any other personal trainer because she makes me laugh and makes me feel good about myself. And that's what matters. But that's what I tell people about this podcast. Oh, you want to hear real people? Go listen to this podcast.
Mm-hmm. I forgot your question. I want to hear more podcast. About Jordan's therapy.
I'll talk about it.
Yeah.
My question was, did I forget my own question now? Because Jordan took so long?
It was, what do you tell people about?
How would you describe the Powerful Ladies podcast? Like, what does Powerful Ladies mean to you?
Oh, Otis. To think about that one. Well, I just think it's more of like a process for me of being brave, because I'm super shy, which is weird. Nobody would think that, but I'm not shy, but I take a long time to warm up. I like to be in the background, and then once I get to know you, I'll just be your best friend for the rest of your life.
You definitely pick and choose.
Sorry.
No, in a good way. In a good way.
Oh, okay.
I remember when we first met, I did get that feeling, and then you had made a comment to me, and I think you and I like looked at each other, and we were like, "Oh, we're gonna be friends now." Okay,
That's fun.
Yeah.
I don't do that intentionally. I just I do have like a guard up. I don't know why, but and I can be shy. Like I would never do a podcast, right? But here I am doing a podcast. But just like, it's powerful to say yes and do something uncomfortable. And you're a perfect person to do that, Kara, because you make people feel comfortable. You ask great questions that is like, oh, yeah, I don't know her, but now I do, you know? So just being a yes to things that make you uncomfortable. And you never know, like, that's the whole thing about this podcast is we end up with an amazing community of women. So hopefully in the next few years, we'll be able to do something with this community. But we need people to follow and like us and so click that subscribe button. And then we can really move forward with a lot of other things, like utilizing our community that we have.
Yeah, that's our big commitment for this year, right? We know that we've hit this 300 mark. We're going to keep going with episodes. We also know that there's such a demand just from the guests, not even our audience, to be bringing everyone together. And that's what we're working on what shape that should take, because we know that Powerful Ladies are busy. We know that Powerful Ladies have limited time. This is a global audience. It's a global group of guests. You know, a lot of people have asked, are you going to move to video podcasting? And I'm like, sure, we can do it on Zoom, but I don't want to limit our ability to talk to people who are not local, can't become local.
Yeah.
I just don't want to limit the story opportunities. And it's really interesting to create community when it's global, and how do we still have depth? So that's kind of what we're working through. How does it make the most sense? And we have some other fun things coming this year too, which we'll be announcing in the next couple of months. We're really looking to expand this team and make sure that there's a dedicated kind of person every day working on this versus each of us working on it in small moments. I'm also really excited that I'm handing off editing to Amanda this year. Oh boy.
Oh.
So we're getting that kind of in process so I can be freed up to do some other things. I'm not always, like, I do not consider myself a perfectionist. I do have high expectations. And just like I coach people on, you mentioned it earlier, when I brought you on board, I wrote out everything I was doing. And was like, here, just follow these instructions. You'll figure it out. And we're doing that now for the editing part. And just like people say, oh, I can't replace myself in my creative work. I can't put that on paper. I know that's a lie because I coach people on all the time. And so now we're putting on paper how I edit, what choices I make, what am I listening for, because it is delegatable. And I'm excited for you to just take that on. And then there's nothing on the list that a producer doesn't do that you are doing now.
Yeah.
And just also the confidence.
Yeah.
I can do it. Anybody can. So you're way more an attention to detail person than I am. So you might even make Jordan happier that you're doing it than I am.
Yeah. I got you, Jordan.
But I really just want to say thank you to everyone who is listening. Because just like we can't exist if guests don't say yes, we can't exist if you're not listening. And it means so much to us when you email us, when you comment, when we post it on Instagram, when you ask more questions about who the guests are. Letting us know that you're out there and you exist changes everything for us. So please keep doing that. Please keep doing that. Please talk to us more often. I really hope that we continue to make something that you guys are excited and proud of. And if you have recommendations, if you want to know more, if you have requests for topics that we're going to cover, either in the Powerful Conversation series or deep dives, people who you just want us to interview, let us know. We have an email, hello@thepowerfulladies.com. So send us your requests. You can also fill out a form on the website too. But we really want to make sure you know that you, as the listeners, you are this community too. So get involved, please.
Yeah.
Anything else you guys would like to say?
Kara is the most epic rock star there is. She's the pod mother.
New episodes coming soon under Pod Mother.
No, I want to say thank you to Kara and Amanda for making this job very fun and very easy, and a very big shout out to Amanda, who always tags me on Monday just being like, I'm just checking in.
Hey girl.
She knows I'm so busy, and there are definitely moments where I forget that I need to work on certain things, and she is very patient with me, and I appreciate that, because I'm very much an impatient person, which is why it's so funny to me that sometimes you'll tag me and I'm like, I have to do this now. But it's always like, hey, whenever you get this done, let me know.
Hopefully in an hour. That's our deadline.
Yeah. Hopefully in an hour. I got to go to bed at 8:00.
But yeah, thank you guys so much. Yeah.
I'm so thankful for having both of you make my crazy dreams come true. And just being a yes. Like, having you guys on the team, I can delegate 1000% and go to bed at night knowing it's handled. And that is a freedom that many people they've never experienced it. They don't have it. And to have people like you on this team that makes this happen, and I know is taking so much care of our guests, so much care of each episode as it's, being birthed into the universe. You guys are what makes the quality of this podcast what it is. Because if I was doing this all by myself, I'm an insane person, as we've qualified, so I probably would still do it, but it wouldn't be this good at all. It wouldn't sound this good. It would take forever to launch. Like, there's so many things. So thank you for making this fun. I really enjoy this part of our work, and I'm excited to do more with you guys.
Yay.
Yay.
So before we go, I have to ask you guys some questions I ask all guests.
Oh, gosh. I'm just kidding.
I know.
How are you feeling
my
today?
earphones died. I can't.
I quickly want to know where you guys put yourself on the Powerful Lady scale. 0 is everyday human, 10 most powerful lady you can imagine. How are you feeling today?
Today, I am feeling an 8. Only because at this very moment, we're going through the fires in LA, and I haven't been home since Tuesday night. And so that's a little crazy. I had to run out before this recording to go buy makeup because I wasn't taking makeup with me. That wasn't an important item to take with me.
Oh.
So even though there's a lot of things going on, I still feel like an 8 because I'm getting things done. I'm feeding myself. I'm making sure I'm eating and feeling okay. And I'm on this recording. So it's nice to be here with you, ladies.
We got an 8 from Amanda.
Well, I've been really sick. It's been a rough year for 2025, I would say, for everybody. But I'm like a 7 today. I'm just thankful that I'm getting better and healthy. And yeah, like, I'm a 7, I guess. I don't know what else to say.
No, I mean, even for me, like, I think this is the power of having to recreate yourself in a moment. I've been a 3 all day. Like, I can feel the overwhelm having built all this week so far.
And it's Friday.
Cortisol's high, my serotonin's low. Like, I can feel how, like, not well I am today.
Yeah.
And we're recording podcasts anyway. So, the credit of being able to be like, okay, we're generating who we need to be, because 300 episodes is a big deal. I am so proud of us. I am so thankful for everyone who's been a part of this. And we're just getting started, right? Like, there's so much more to do. We could have spent this whole episode talking about what's going on around us right now, but it wouldn't leave us room to celebrate what we've done up to this point. And that's kind of what being powerful ladies are, right? We've all showed up anyway. You've been sick, the fires are going on. Jordan has been home in a couple of days. I've had 8 humans, 3 dogs, and 1 cat at my house the past couple of days. So there are plenty of reasons why we shouldn't have recorded today, just like there are plenty of reasons why we never should have made this podcast. And I think a big sign of being powerful is what we do despite of all the circumstances, because we know it's bigger than us. And I think it's fitting that that's what we've all had to overcome to get to episode 300 today. Last question for you guys for today. What do you want and how can we help you this year?
Oh, gosh.
Amanda wants to be adopted. What else would you like?
Yeah. I don't really want anything. I'm pretty blessed. I'm turning 40, so I'm doing my best to, I know it's a big year. So I'm trying to go to Ireland. So I'm just trying to save for that. I would like to travel to Ireland this year. So any recommendations or anything like that, let me know.
I have some for you.
Okay.
That also reminds me that maybe a request you have is for when guests say yes to keep their recording schedule time. Because when they do that, that allows you to take a stress-free vacation.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it's not their fault.
Of course not.
Yeah.
Jordan, what's on your wish manifestation list?
On my list for this year, I'm trying to be far better with my finances. I felt that I did a lot in 2024. I had 2 music videos. I had photo shoots. I had a PR team trying to get everything like out and about. I took myself on a trip, which to New Jersey, New York City, I should say. Every time I told everyone New Jersey, they were like, why are you going to New Jersey? This is very confusing. I went to New York City. It was very fun. I did so much in 2024 that by the end of the year, I had like no money left. And it was a very stressful December. So I'm trying to have 2025 be where I'm still cranking out things because my album comes out in 2025. I'm very excited and proud of it. It would be ideal to tour if that is in the cards. But my main goal is finances, just getting them better, which hasn't been like a huge goal for me in the past years. I think it was very prevalent for me in this year. And so it's just making sure that I'm still having fun and doing what I need to do, but also saving money. And I also want to do more improv stuff. I'm part of an improv team now that's like actually performing. And that's crazy to me to think that little Jordan was not going to be doing improv. And thanks to Kara giving me a gift card, and I was like, I'm not doing this. I did do it, and now I'm an improv graduate and actually doing things with it. Which is funny. One of my favorite things that has happened with Powerful Ladies and like some of the events that Kara has had is a person, we will keep their identity a secret, came up to me and said that I was her favorite comic stand-up, and I'm not a comic stand-up. So that is a very big compliment.
Oh, smart.
So, yeah.
You're the funniest person I know, Jordan.
I am the funniest person I know. I'm just kidding. What about you, Kara? What do you want for 2025?
What I want for
But you only have 1 minute.
Okay.
Yeah, this sun, I'm being attacked.
On my manifest list for 2025 is definitely getting more exposure for this podcast. It's creating that container for what that community and connection looks like for everyone who wants it within the Powerful Ladies space, and really driving Powerful Ladies to the next level. Powerful Ladies was supposed to be the primary business when it started, and coaching was just something I'm going to do to make money to get it off the ground. And that pivoted so hard because of COVID. And I'm so thankful for it. I never imagined the coaching consulting to be such the thing it is today. And I'm so thankful and proud of that. And it's time to come back and start investing resources into Powerful Ladies, be able to go to the next stage as a media company, and all the things we've had on the vision board for it for years now. You know, the company was founded in November of 2018. The podcast launched in March of 2019. And so we've done such a good job of having our systems fine-tuned where the podcast part is on semi-autopilot. And now it's time to kind of give the brand the love it needs to kind of go to the next level. So anyone who will want to be a part of that, has ideas for what that could look like, I'd love to talk to you, reach out to us. But yeah, I'm excited to really make this kind of, Powerful Ladies 2.0. Well, thank you guys for taking time to share your souls with everyone listening. But really just to be a part of this 300 episode, this unique episode format. I want to make sure you guys are getting the recognition you deserve for what you're creating. They hear my voice all the time, so I'm sure they're really excited to hear anyone talk but me. But thank you. Thank you for saying yes to coming out from behind the scenes.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share it with a friend. Come hang out with us on Instagram at Powerful Ladies. You can find all the show notes and all episodes at thepowerfulladies.com. And you can find me and all my things at karaduffy.com. I'll be back next week with a brand new episode. Until then, I hope you're taking on being powerful in your life. Go be awesome and up to something you love.